Welcome to the Redefining Strength podcast. Everything you need to succeed on your health and fitness journey, even the stuff you don't want to hear. Why have you failed? Often we think that our failures are the opposite of us succeeding, but that's just not the case. And if you really think about some of the people you idolize, your role models, the great people out there, they have probably failed more times than you ever have. And the more I failed, the more I realized how valuable a learning experience it really is, because we can ultimately see things as an obstacle or an opportunity. Success really is struggle, and failures are a part of that success. And it's not fun. It's not something we often want to own, but the more we can really see that we only hold ourselves back when we don't see the opportunity in those failures, the more we can constantly learn and grow and truly move forward faster. Again, all those people that we idolize often have failed even more times than they technically succeeded. It's just that they've succeeded so greatly because of those failures. And I was trying to think of a way to sort of explain how we can change our perception of failure. And I saw a video that Ashley had sent me when she was dog sitting Kiwi and Sushi. And she had zoomed in on Kiwi scratching at the glass on the door. And Kiwi scratching at the glass, whining to come into the room, whining. I'm like, oh gosh, she's gonna scratch up the glass. What are you doing, Ashley? And then Ashley zooms out. And here is Kiwi standing at the glass when the door is wide open, because it's a sliding door. It's wide open. She and Sushi could have just gone around, but Sushi's just standing there with no clue as to what's going on, watching Kiwi scratch at it. And Kiwi scratching as if she can't get in. She's putting this roadblock in her own way when she could go around the door. And finally, Ashley persuaded them to come in. But I think this is almost how we often look at failure. We see it as the door being closed on us. We can't go around it when really the door is wide open. We could go around. We're putting this roadblock that we see as immovable in our own way. And sometimes we need an outside perspective to help us around. Sometimes we just need to pause and step back. But the more we don't see failures as the end, something that we can't come back from, something that we can't grow from, the more we can really help ourselves move forward. So I would urge you, if you're looking at a door that you feel like isn't open to go through, really assess what is this door telling you? What is it telling you about what you've done currently that might be not allowing you to seemingly move forward on this one path? What is this teaching you as to what might actually work? Because I think a lot of times in our failures, we think, okay, this doesn't work. But then the opposite might be true. If that doesn't work, what's the opposite action I could have taken that could really move me forward? And I found this quote that I thought was really good that I wanted to share with you guys. The best inventors often arrive at amazing ideas precisely because their original plans failed. Think about how many times you've had a great day, a great experience. You've made even a recipe that tasted better, and you actually made a mistake when you were doing that thing. I can tell you, I've had so many instances the things didn't work out exactly as I planned, and the day ended up being better, or the restaurant experience ended up being better, or the recipe ended up being better. My cooking, not quite as much. But there's always those situations where you do something even accidentally wrong and you don't realize till after, and things turn out better. Because those mistakes that we have happen, those setbacks are truly, and I keep saying this, but learning experiences. They are opportunities to step back and assess, hey, what did I do and why did or didn't it work? I actually thought it was really interesting, a story by the founder of Spanx. She had her dad ask her every single day, what did you fail at today? And actually be disappointed if she didn't come up with something. And I think that's such a great way to frame failures in our own head, because those experiences we demonize, we feel bad for because we don't like looking like we messed up or we're not perfect, but we're not perfect. And so often, again, if you think about the people you idolize, they have failed the most, struggled the most. And so the more we can see that in ourselves and step back and treat ourselves like a friend when we do struggle, the better off we're going to be. So because success is struggle and it can be hard to step back, I think it's really key that we have a few questions sort of in our repertoire to ask ourselves when we do hit those hard points. And so I was thinking about, what is failure? How failing isn't failure unless we actually give up, and looking at those situations to assess them. So some questions I like to ask myself are, why did that happen? Why did the actual thing happen? Was it that I actually didn't implement the plan? Was it that I did implement the plan and it didn't match my priorities right now? Is this something that really is against a non-negotiable I have in my life, or a value that I have in my life? Or did I not fully embrace it to actually go all in? Because I think a lot of times too, we'll be making changes. We'll be saying we're tracking our macros and we're tracking our food, but we're not actually shifting our portions to hit our new macros. And so we say macro tracking didn't work, but when we step back, we assess, oh, I was tracking and that felt hard alone, but I didn't change my portions. So of course, if I didn't adjust my portions, I'm not going to see results. So why did that happen? Really dive into even the mindsets behind the actual actions to see where your resistance might have been to fully implementing. And then think, are there triggers I can note to avoid it happening again? Especially with patterns we tend to repeat. We come home from work after a long day, we're stressed, we go to the cabinet, we grab out 20 Oreos, and before we even know it, we're sitting on the couch with all of them gone. Maybe that's just me. But have you ever done something like that where, you just repeat this pattern almost unconsciously and before you know it, you're feeling guilty about it because you've done it? Shifting your environment or noting a trigger earlier in the day can really help you where if you know, hey, on stressful days like this, if I just go straight home, I'm going to repeat that pattern. How can I change that? Maybe I'm going to go for a walk instead. Or, hey, I usually go in the front door, put my bag down in this way and go straight to the cabinet. I'm actually going to go in through the garage, which will make me have to go, upstairs first, or something that changes the environment, changes exactly the routine that you follow, can be that little mental reminder so that we don't just fall back into that pattern. So note triggers, even in reflection. So often right away, we can't catch ourselves in the act of something, but right after it happens, as soon as we really see that a pattern has repeated, we've failed, had a setback, step back and say, okay, what can I learn from this? That also reframes the event in your head to not feel so guilty about it or not see it so negatively. But step back and then say, what other ways can I notice this might be happening before it happens to catch myself? Because that's where you start to get a little more proactive. You change things, even saying, hey, I just know that this week is going to be a stressful week. So I'm going to change my behaviors before it even gets stressful. And so maybe you out of stress wouldn't have repeated that pattern, but you don't even have to worry about it because you notice that, hey, this is going to be a stressful week. I know with stress I can repeat this pattern. So I'm going to completely change everything and even make something fun out of this to help reduce some stress in a different way. And then really think, what can I learn to move forward from it? Again, seeing everything as learning experience. Failures are just learning with frustration. And the more we value them for that, the more we can move forward. So what can I really learn from this? Don't beat yourself up. You're going to learn the most from this experience because you don't want to repeat it. So often we breeze past the learning experiences and good things because it worked out. We don't reflect, which we should also do more of, but it isn't as painful. And if we just sort of push failures aside and never learn from them, we are way more bound to repeat them. And we don't want to repeat them. And then also in trying to do potentially exactly the opposite, we hold ourselves back from seeing the opportunity in what we were already doing. We can make ourselves feel broken, guilty, and only mentally sabotage ourselves more. So really seek that learning experience from everything and see it as a positive. Because again, a lot of times the feelings we associate with events are what can hold us back even more. If you see, going to the cabinet, repeating that cycle where you had even one Oreo and then you slash the other 3 tires because you got that flat right, and then you go eat all the other Oreos, and that's like sitting by the side of the road, flat tire, instead of fixing it, you slash the other 3. You don't want to do that, right? But, in doing that, you could feel guilty, or you could say, hey, what can I learn from this? And even in stepping back and releasing that emotion, it's going to make it way easier to not repeat it because there's not that guilt involved. So think of this as also seeing the opportunity and in a positive way that you can disassociate some of those feelings, feeling of guilt especially, to beat ourselves up, which will make you more and more open to moving forward faster and faster, which will help you see results faster and faster. And then what did this teach me about myself? Not only recognizing the environment, the patterns, but I think we need to dive a lot deeper a lot of times because there's often an underlying emotion, an underlying belief or boundary we set for ourselves. And if we don't question deeper, we're bound to repeat the same mistake in a different way. So I call it like the circle of hard. Often we hit the hard, right? We go this direction towards our goals and we hit an edge of the circle. And then we say, oh, this is too hard or this doesn't work. And we go back. And then we basically go a different direction. But because there's this circle of hard around us, we're sort of always hitting the same hard. It's just labeled in a different way. That's why we might do keto and feel like, oh, well, it's low carb that doesn't work for me. So then we do another diet that restricts something else. But we're really repeating the same pattern of restriction. And we haven't really assessed, okay, why does restriction do this to me? What are my non-negotiables? What are my values? What are my priorities? How can I work with my lifestyle to really make a change? And so we basically hit the same hard, just going in this circle, keeping ourselves constantly stuck within these boundaries. So really assess, what did I learn about myself and my own patterns and my own handling of different things, my own routines, my own mindsets? Because the more you do that internal reflection and really ask why, the more you're going to assess what you need and truly need to move forward. And sometimes it's that habits you've been doing just now don't fit your lifestyle. And the more you assess, okay, well, where is my mind right now? What am I valuing? What am I prioritizing? The more you can even evolve those habits to match really where you're at right now, because something doesn't work for us forever, even over the course of a year. So I want you to ask those questions, and especially the last question, because I think everything is really an opportunity to learn more about ourselves, to then tweak, because habits in one form don't fit us and fit us forever. Routines and patterns will shift. We are constantly evolving. We just want to control the direction that we are changing in, and we can better do that by pausing to reflect. Reflection is all about taking ownership. And the more we take ownership, the more we can shift our perspective, how we view the events, see opportunity or obstacle in the failures. Because people who succeed the most, those people we idolize, didn't not fail. They just always saw the opportunity or the learning experience and everything to eventually move forward. So I really want you to think, why have I failed? And then do those assessments. Think about any event that you've sort of even tried to hide from and go back and learn from it.